Thank you, Calgary. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. Such an honor to be here. First thing I thought of was, where's all the cow dung? So I was hopeful not to step in any as James walked up. And thank you so much for that fine introduction. It's amazing, as I came downstairs today from my room, I literally bumped into Martin Sheen. As I stumbled over him and got up and dusted ourselves off, it was the second time that happened. We had spoken in Montreal. And in Montreal, I had the pleasure of opening up for him, which was a profound honor, being a big fan of his work. And as that happened, I had the profound opening up for him. So I spoke, he spoke, and then President Clinton. So this morning I said, wow, it's going to be such an honor to have you open up for me. And he says, what's your name again? And so I quickly reminded him, because we've been friends since Montreal. And I said, Richard Dolan. He says, right. He goes, son, I'm leaving quickly. I've got to go earlier. So unfortunately, he didn't open up for me. But the reality was, wasn't he just fantastic, Martin Sheen? A round of applause for Martin Sheen. Well, we have very limited time and so much to really cover. So let me begin by sharing with you a quote. And it reads, if you're distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your own estimate of it. Now, to make that point a little bit clear, what I've got the opportunity of doing is using a little bit of this multimedia, and I'll do this a little bit throughout the presentation to really animate the point. So without much further ado, here's what I want you to do. Take a look at the screen and look out for the external circumstances that are causing the people that you see across the screen have the day that they have the response they have. Take a look. Now, if we had audio, what you notice is she's screaming. The co-worker's calling him dummy. She'd rather wish that she was somewhere else, so she's screaming, and she realizes that she would like to be somewhere else, and you hopelessly cry no matter what and no matter where you're at. But imagine if you're screaming, your coworker calls you dummy, you'd rather be somewhere else, and here you are crying for no obvious reason, and you like to punch a koala bear. But then you want to scream, you want to be somewhere else, you cry for no absurd reason, you want to punch a koala bear, and you sit beside this guy. It might be time. But if you got loads of money and you go to work like this and you hear, hey, you dummy, and you'd rather be somewhere else, and you cry for no obvious reason, and you punch a koala bear and you sit beside this guy, it might be time to change your job. So I apologize for the audio, but that is the best I can do in regenerating that particular video. Perhaps we might do it a little bit later on. So the real deal is this, is that if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your own estimate of it. And it's this that you have the power. You have the power to revoke at any moment. You see, folks, this is the time, more now than ever before. Adversity is at an all-time high. Never before have we seen the markets do what they do. Never before have we seen politics do what they do. Sociological differences, adversity is at an all-time high. And what we know is one thing. Our state is being held hostage. It's being held hostage by the very fact of all the things that are going on in the world. And as a result of these very things that are going on in the world, we have this to think about. The very fact that no matter what's happening on the outside, we have control over how we can take it on. But here's the thing. It's not like today what we get to do is paint your car red and hope it goes faster. We've got to lift the hood, get underneath there, and see what it is that actually causes your machinery to work the way it works. So for the little time that we have left together, what I'm hoping that we're able to accomplish is transform a little part of you for what lies ahead. Does that sound like a fair bet? We're going to have a little bit of fun with it, so let's begin. The first thing we're going to take a look at is the very fact of this, accessing more. Now, we're not talking about saying that you've got to become better. What we know is that there's three fundamentals that have us all be at presentations like these, go to workshops like Chris Howard's, and pay close attention to the likes of a Martin Sheen, understand how is it that they got where they got. It comes down to three things. First, the state in which that person took on. The next is their perspective. And the soul of their perspective drives their state. But the last is triggers, anchors, life signals, the things that have us move into motion even unbeknownst to us. And I'll explain what these mean in a little bit longer. The reality is this, is that for a matter of state, the quality of our behavior and our communications are very dependent on a couple of things. First, let me define state. State can be defined as the sum of the millions and millions and millions of neurological processes happening within us at any given time. What and how you picture things, how you speak and converse with other people about things all drive state. Behavior is in fact the very thing that drives communication, that then drives state. The next point you want to know is the fair use of your physiology and the personal energy. The reality is that how you occur in the world, how you generate energy and how you expense it really begins to define your state and how it causes the state of others. I want to quote Tony Robbins, who's been known to really lead in this particular field for over 25 years. And during a time when he was actually referencing great parents, wonderful mentors, powerful coaches, he talked a bit about this leadership thing. He said this: powerful leaders are those who can represent the circumstances of life to themselves and to others in a way that signals success to the nervous system in spite of seemingly hopeless external stimuli. So in other words, no matter what's going on out there, what's going on up here is what allows them to generate success and be able to persevere. I'm hopeful that on our next slide here, what we're able to do is, in fact, introduce to you another little video. And in the video, what I want you to look for are the individuals and what they do that, regardless of what you see as what might seem as really extraordinary stimuli, stuff that's going on, and what they do to survive that. So let me share it with you. Hopefully you hear the audio. Well, clearly there's no audio. But if there were to be, this song is called I've Got Soul, But There's No Soldier. This is Nike's commercial at driving home a message that when you look into the eye of each of these athletes, whether it's a small child or someone in a parade, whenever people are on the mat, on the field, on a mountain, in a journey, on a trek, like our good friend Jamie Clark, there's something that they have to access deep inside that allows them to just turn it on. And when they turn it on, here's what they discover: that not only they had it, but we all have it. We all have what it takes to turn it on. Simply Just Do It by Nike. Now, the reality is that when you take a look at the soul of perspective, as James Brown would once say, have you got soul? Have you got soul? So the soul of perspective is this. When we look at the soul of perspective, there's only two components of it. First is content and context. And the best way to really explain that